Welcome to SeizeYourBusiness.com, the podcast and video blog for business owners. My name is Kevin O'Flaherty from O'Flaherty Law. Today I'm joined as always by my co-host Jim Wazak from Zeo Financial.
Hello.
Our video is being shot by Tom Weiler from Weiler Studio, so thanks for that, Tom. And we're joined today by George Pierce from Impact Investigations, and our topic is going to be how to go off on your own. George is a private detective, and he had a long apprenticeship, and 20 years ago or so, he started his own business, and we want to talk about some of the challenges and solutions that were associated with that. So thanks for joining us, George.
Welcome,
Thank you
George.
for having me.
But we got to ask you first. You know, everybody who's private investigator, you know, they got these images of car chases and pretty girls and shooting at people across town. What's the reality of it? What kinds of things that happens in the sort of real life of non-Hollywood?
Well, the reality of the private detective business is I do a lot of report writing.
Okay.
I do.
Sounds sexy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do carry a gun for a living and vest on times when I go to some dangerous areas.
Are you packing heat right now?
No, I didn't bring a gun today.
Okay.
But I will say that a lot of people, their first reaction is, do you follow somebody's husband or wife? And that's probably maybe 5% of my business. The rest of it is a lot of process serving for law firms like yours. I do some financial fraud work, which is involving theft and things like that. So it's a very interesting business because every day it's something new, but then again you have the tedious part of the paperwork, and it's not very sexy to be doing a surveillance for 12 hours in a car. It has all kinds of implications and problems with that. But it is something that I do, and it's a 24/7 job. So if you think that it's, you're just going to go out and catch the bad guy in an hour like on TV,
Yeah.
some of my cases could go on for years,
Yeah.
quite frankly.
Sure.
And so, George, you've got a marketing degree, too, you said,
Yes,
right? That must have helped you when you were setting up your business.
It did. I went to Arizona State University, and I graduated with a BS in marketing. And when I got out of school, I realized that the one thing that school taught me was how to obtain more knowledge. And that set me up, quite frankly, so no matter whatever business I did go into, I was able to set it up and do what you need to do in a business. You have to have an accounting background, you have to have a marketing background, a sales background. So there's quite a few things that are involved with setting up any business, and the detective business is not much different.
Something that you said that's really important, I think, is the ability to learn how to learn is one of the most important skills that a business owner can have. I in my business, I've learned how to build a bar. I've learned how to build websites, mix down podcasts and audio, and that's stuff that I never learned formally, but you just have the tools, and
Right.
and then you feel like you can conquer whatever new challenge comes in front of you.
Sure. I can relate to that because one of the things I did was got married. And I'm learning every day about how stupid I am and all the things I can't do. So, yeah, we're always learning. Exactly. Well, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, every day is a learning experience for me. New cases, and a lot of people, they go, well, can you do this? Can you do that? And my business a lot of it is based on my network. I have networks. I tell people I know all the people with the initials after their names: FBI, CIA, DEA, Secret Service. I interface with a lot of these people in state and local police as well. But it's kind of like I know people that have expertise in areas that I don't. And that's how I function in my business. If somebody says to me, George, we're looking for somebody, we're missing a lot of money in our company, and we want to know, can you help us find out where it went? Well, in that situation, I have a friend of mine. He's an ex-FBI agent. He's a CPA and a JD.
Okay.
And he has a forensic accounting background with the top accounting firms in the country. And he is now a private investigator. So I would call him in, and he'd bring his team of accounting people in. They'd come in, they look at your books and your company, and try to track down where the money went to. And there's always a paper trail. Who wrote what checks, who received what money coming in, where was it diverted to? And at the end of the day, unfortunately, a lot of times you find out the people that steal from you in these companies are your longest term employees.
Sure.
Because they know the weaknesses in your business. And they maybe had an inkling that they're going to retire and they didn't save enough money. And they're not bad people, but all of a sudden they become desperate and they start draining off the resources of a company.
Sure.
So I've seen many, many cases like that, unfortunately.
So, you know, there's probably a lot of people who are working, I guess, kind of in any business, but certainly professional, you know, accountants, lawyers, private investigators, maybe insurance people who, you know, they're there from there. I can do this. You know, I'm going to go off on my own. What are the naive things that they shouldn't be thinking, and what should they actually do if they want to try it?
Well, in my particular case, it requires an apprenticeship. The state licensing law for the state of Illinois requires that you have a minimum of 1 year or up to 5 years as an apprentice, depending on your educational background. I have a degree in marketing, which allows me a 1-year apprenticeship. Or you could have a degree in criminal justice. Those are the two degrees that they accept for the licensing requirement.
Okay.
At that point, after serving at least a 1-year apprenticeship, I actually served 6.5 years with the company that I worked for before I took the exam and went off on my own. And I found that doing that, I was pretty well prepared to develop a client base based on the information and the things that I became skillful at. Background investigations, process serving, database construction, and with my marketing and sales skills, I was able to open up my doors, and I've been busy from day one.
So what were the first couple things you did to build that client base?
The first things I did, and I'm kind of an old school kind of guy. A lot of people today, you know, they rely on the internet and the webs and all of this stuff to develop their business. I was trained to go out and visit people, knocking on doors. And I found that opened up more, and it surprised a lot of people. Oh, do you have an appointment? No, but I would like to see your HR director. I do background investigations. And the HR guy would come out and go, yeah, I got a few minutes. And we'd sit down and I'd discuss my presentation and take maybe 15 minutes of the man's time or woman's time. And they would go, okay, you know, well, what's your fax number? You know, because then it was still fax machines that you were using.
Right.
Now everything is scan and email. But at that time, I developed probably at the beginning about a dozen corporations, medium-sized companies is what I targeted, because the real big guys, they have real big guys servicing them. So I felt if I went after the middle-sized company, and they had basically 100 to 250 employees, that I would do their background checks. And that involved a criminal check, employment, Social Security, education, whatever. It was kind of like a shopping list. And the more they wanted, the higher the cost for the background. So today, I mean, the backgrounds are available. You could find out if somebody's wanted by Interpol. You know, that could be part of it. Are they on the terrorist watch list? Are they, you know, do they have issues with their personal life? All of these things come into play when you hire somebody in a company, because to do a better job on the front end will allow you to have a better experience with that employee throughout their career and on the back end as well. I mean,
So how did you build your, it looks like you came up with a targeted list of these medium-sized companies. How did you go about building that list to start attacking with door knocks?
Well, there's a lot of different sources for that information. I mean, it's hard for me to remember now the exact list, but there was an industrial list because I wanted manufacturing companies as well. And they had people on the shop floor. And in my job previously, there was a lot of undercover investigations that I used to work. And we would hire a factory worker. They would go into the company. They would get paid by the company to do the job. And they were required to file a daily report, which usually went either to the president of the company or the vice president of human resources. So nobody knew who this person was coming in. So that is my first taste with a lot of the companies that I was dealing with. And I did sell some undercover operations, and they were pretty interesting. But the basically was the person coming in the door, background investigation, drug screen, and then they filled out the application, and then they interviewed them and they hired them or not. So I was also involved with drug testing company, and I would work with the companies. So I was trying to put together a package of services that a detective could offer. But people, if you need a drug screen, I have a company that you can work with, and you coordinated all of those things.
Sure.
And then the next thing you know, you're doing 50 to 100 backgrounds for that company.
Yeah.
The next one, 50 to 100. Next thing you know, you start hiring people, and you're computerizing everything, and you're in business.
Did you have any non-compete issues to deal with, or were you able to take some clients with you, or how did that work? I know it was a while ago, but
it was a while ago, and there's always issues with that. Non-compete is something that's very difficult for anybody to defend in the real world, because you're right to work. He kept his clients. I developed mine. I was the sales guy that brought in the clients to his company.
Okay.
So I built his business for 6 years. I asked him for a piece of the business, and he said no. And I said, well, then I got to make the decision to go out on my own and develop my own clients from here on. And that's how I dealt with that.
So it sounds like sales and building your client base was the easy part for you. Were there any major challenges that you had to overcome that were kind of unexpected when you started your business, and how did you overcome them?
Well, honestly, the hardest part was you could get really overwhelmed when you're starting out as a small businessman. You got to make the decision, is it a good thing for me to start hiring people? You have to go through, now if I hire them, I have to train them. And then I have to constantly have work for them. So that's probably the biggest challenge that I've overcome over the years. And I've had employees, and then now I'm basically a one-man operation with my connections and associates. So that's how I operate.
Bring people in on kind of independent contractor basis if you need extra help or something you don't do or whatever.
So what caused you to move away from the employee model? Because that's a big decision everybody has to have. There's a lot of people that say, hey, you know what, I'm happy with the business I have. I'm not going to try to grow too much more and just do really well at servicing the business I have, or I want to go out and just network all day and have my employees service the work. What made you decide not to get away from having employees?
Well, the old adage, it's always hard to find somebody that works as hard as you do. And the people that do, they want to be in their own business. So on that level, it was always difficult for me. I would find people. And right now, I have maybe a handful of associates that are on my level, and they have their own businesses, and we're all friends. We've known each other for a long time. We trust each other, which is very important in my business. And, I can now even take a vacation and have somebody cover my my work for a couple of weeks if I need to, because I trust them.
I'd like to touch on something that you mentioned, because I've seen this mistake made a lot, but you mentioned something like if you want to find people who can develop the business, but if they can do that, they're probably doing it on their own. And I think that's very true, and I see a lot of entrepreneurial type companies say, well, we want to hire salespeople, but it's commission only.
Right.
And I think the person who is comfortable and who's going to be successful on commission only is probably doing something on his or her own already.
Yes.
So I think it's very tough to find good people, and I honestly haven't seen too many that have really worked well, but I don't know if you want to expand on that at all. But
well, I agree with what you're saying, and it's a difficult part, and I've always had my eyes set on trying to, what am I going to do when I don't want to do this anymore? Okay, what do you do then? And I think about maybe finding a young guy out of school or something that has interest in this business, and if I could trust him, train him, and basically give him a piece of my business. I think that's a good business model for a small company to operate under. But as far as again, my clients, and this is why I love my business, my clients are probably the most loyal people to me, and I as them, because I know all the secrets. I know all of their problems. I know to keep my mouth closed and not expose anybody to any embarrassing situations. I could tell you some corporations that I have done work for would absolutely be horrified if I ever started telling people what I know.
So spill the beans. Let's do
Spill
it.
the
Yeah. I think you just talked about your retirement plan, you know.
Well,
I'm just teasing.
I know. But it's this way. I mean, it's a certain amount of respect that you get from these people. It's a mutual respect. And I could have people that I haven't talked to in a long time, and they'll call me up and they'll go, George, you still doing this? Yes, I am. Okay,
Yes.
great. We have this that we're trying to do. Can you help us? So, you know, I've been busy for 20 years. I said, I'm busy all the time. They go, well, that's great. I said, well, I've been busy for 20 years. From day one, I had business to support myself coming right out the door.
That's a beautiful thing, yeah.
So what are some of your top 1 or 2 tips for somebody that's starting off on their own or thinking about starting off on their own? You have a couple nuggets of advice you've learned over the past 20 years that might be able to help somebody?
I would say if you're going to start off on your own, find yourself, again, go out and meet the people, find a mentor, somebody who has experience in your business, who's willing to share that with you, and learn. Keep an open mind. Because a lot of young people today, you know, they have an attitude that, you know, and maybe I had the same when I was younger, I don't remember, but they think they know everything. And the more you open up your mind to experience and people who have been doing something a long time, and if they're willing to share that information, I would say that would be the first place I would go.
Yep.
George, if somebody wants to reach you for either process serving or background checks or chasing their husband around, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, I have a Facebook page for Impact Investigations. I also have a website, which is www.iiinow.com.
Okay.
My phone number is 847-804-6946. That is my personal cell number. And if you'd like to talk to me, I do not charge an initial consulting fee. I'll be able to tell you that if I can help you or not, and if I cannot help you, I might be able to refer you to somebody who can.
All right, Jim, how can
Super.
people reach you?
The best way is by phone, 630-272-3895. And we offer products that help people with the financial aspects of fighting cancer.
And at O'Flaherty Law, we offer free initial consultations on almost every area of law. We don't do patent law, but we do everything else. So you can call me at 630-324-6666 to schedule a free consultation. Thank you to Tom Weiler from Weiler Studios.
Thanks, Tom.
WeilerStudios.com if you want a video made for yourself. He does a great job. And you can check out a lot more podcasts and video blogs. We're pushing 100 episodes now at seizeyourbusiness.com. Go to learn-about-law.com for my legal blog, podcast, and video blog. And we're doing a new podcast and video blog called makingrealestatefun.com that you can check out. So thanks so much for listening.